see here. All righty then. Okay. Well, finally here. It's been one crazy day. One crazy day here in Manchester, where I currently live. Trying to get everything set up, and now finally, to my students, I apologize for being late, but due to circumstances beyond my control, had to delay the read aloud by a couple hours. I currently have to share my internet with someone else that I live with who is also working from home, so trying to schedule when any of us need to use the Wi-Fi currently has been tedious at best, so I apologize that I couldn't do the 11 o'clock time like I promised yesterday. But if you guys are able to make it here today, thank you. Glad to see at least one of you is here. I did turn on the chat, so if you guys want to talk to me, I know my students, you guys have been, seem like you guys want to share what you guys have been doing the last couple weeks since we've been out of school. You guys are more than welcome to do so through the chat, and I'll be able to talk with you there also. I also have an announcement. Also, if you guys didn't see my message on Facebook, but Class Dojo is currently having issues right now. I know I had one of you message me saying, I can't access your classroom. It's asking for a classroom code. Well, I could say I can't even get into Dojo either. I got a message finally. The Dojo had to turn off class rosters and messages because of increased demand on their system. So probably with all teachers and a lot of students being off because of the closure for COVID-19, their system is overtaxed right now. So my hope is, they did say they're going to turn it on soon, and they apologize for the inconvenience. So if you've been trying to reach me there, you'll have to wait until Dojo gets turned on. But it puts a damper because that's how I had a direct access to families. And I've just heard from our building principal at Laura Haviland, Julie Van Black, and I need to send you guys a survey asking you guys about the possibility about doing virtual learning. So if you guys are able to and are comfortable, share it in the chat, and I could write down like your guys' email addresses, and I can send that to you guys. And as soon as you guys get it filled out and can send it back to me, the better, and I can get that to Mrs. Van Black so we can kind of figure out what access you guys have to technology, what your internet access is like, and then we at the ISD can then figure out how best to be able to help and support you guys during these very uncertain times about how to continue the education of our students. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot during this time is, other than giving you guys activity ideas, what more could I do as the teacher to help facilitate more learning? That's why I'm hoping that with these read-alouds, it's something that could be a part of our normal routine, that I could keep doing this so that we could finish our book, pick our next book, so on, kind of a chance for everybody to kind of have some semblance of, this is when Mr. G normally does his read aloud at school. He's going to try to continue that now. So I guess without further ado, a lot happened when I read this past Saturday. We had our epic heroes, Ben Ripley and the Hales, come up with the plan about how to stop Spider carrying out phase 2 of their plan. It was, Ben had shared with the Hales that, next phase is that Spider is destroying the bridges around New York City, where Evil Spy School is located, that, gated community, hidden forest, and that The missile silos were being hidden in the designated areas that were labeled for the septic tanks. So our heroes ended up going back to hidden forests, while at the same time where they were headed, CIA could meet them there to what the CIA think is to arrest the Hales and Ben, but really the Hales and Ben want the CIA to back them up to be able to attack hidden forest and then kind of sneak in while Spider's dealing with the CIA. Heroes can go in. And the hidden command center for Spider is located. They found Nefarious, who was sitting on the couch looking like he was getting ready to launch the missiles and guiding them to their targets. We had Murray Hill there. And just as Erica was going to force Nefarious off of the joystick, that's when, what was her name? I keep blanking on her name here. Her other person. Let's see. Ashley, that's right. Ashley, the other Spider agent, got the jump on Ben and Erica and forced them to drop their weapons. And that's kind of where we left it. So we will pick back up with chapter 22, titled The Negotiation. The flares from the missiles rockets were so bright they bleached out the TV screens and bathed the entire control center in a pale, eerie light. Erica looked to me. I wasn't used to seeing her worried, but she was now worried. How long will it take those to hit their targets? First one will strike in about 8 minutes, I said, feeling sick to my stomach. After all, the reason I knew this was because I had done the math that allowed Joshua to program the missiles. When they struck and did their damage, I would be partly responsible. I had naively gone undercover, hoping to defeat Spider, and had instead been manipulated by them into doing their dirty work. This wasn't a very good feeling at all. But then I still had 8 minutes to try to fix things. On the TV screens, cameras mounted on the missiles themselves tracked their progress across New Jersey. The landscape flew past beneath them at rocket speed, farms and suburban communities and clumps of forest. It looked weirdly like the view from a pilot as his plane hurtled into battle. I turned my attention now to Ashley because, unlike Nefarious, she was making eye contact with me, and because I suspected she wasn't really evil at heart. Put down your guns, I said. Please, you could still abort the missiles. If you don't, you're going to have blood of thousands of innocent people on your hands. Ashley shook her head. Innocent people aren't going to die. You don't know what we're really doing here. I know exactly what you're doing, I replied. You're blowing up all the major bridges around the city so you could get paid billions to rebuild them. Ashley's eyes widened in surprise. Holy cow! Murray cried from the couch. You figured out our evil scheme again? Every time I think we've got you fooled, you still work it out. How'd you do it this time? I saw the Lou Brothers construction site in New Jersey, I told him. A big one, rebuilding an entire shipping pier, which meant Spider's construction company was much bigger than I realized. So we Googled the company, and the exception of this community, Lou Brothers only does government work, mostly large infrastructure projects, like bridges. Nice work, as usual, Murray grinned, revealing several rainbow sprinkles stuck in his teeth. To be honest, Spider didn't even see the potential of the construction company at first. We originally started Lou Brothers as a money laundering scheme, and then found that being evil was standard procedure in the large-scale construction business. In fact, we were shocked by how corrupt and deceitful some of our rival companies were. And we're terrorists. To get jobs, everybody uses bribes, blackmail, kickbacks, and threats. We started to do the same thing, and we were good at it. Before you knew it, Lou Brothers was bringing in more money than our illegal schemes. So then we started to think, why wait for the government to come to us with construction jobs? Why not create jobs ourselves? I mean, if some shady international organization paid us to blow up a building and We'd get paid a few million tops, while some lucky construction company would get billions to rebuild it. The real money isn't knocking things down, it's putting them back up again. So why should we let some other sleazeballs make big profits off of our terrorism when we could be the sleazeballs making the big profits ourselves? You're creating a fake terrorist attack just to cash in on emergency rebuilding funds? Erica asked. Yes, Murray crowed. Yeah, they're the real doozy of an attack, too. The 10 major bridges and tunnels into Manhattan are all going down at once. The way we figure it, if you only knock out one route into the city, it's a crisis. But New York could still get by. But if you take out 10 routes at the same time, it could cripple a place. Doomsday will have nothing on this. The city, the state, and the federal government will be desperate to get everything rebuilt as quickly as possible, and they'll have to pay through the nose to do it. It just so happens that Lou Brothers is perfectly prepared to handle such a cataclysmic event, with all the connections of personnel and raw materials on hand necessary to rebuild quickly and for maximum profit. So you see, Ashley added gleefully, what we're doing isn't so bad, really. It's not slaughter thousands of innocent people evil. It's more like inconvenience millions of people for a few months of evil. People are still going to die, I told her. You're detonating 10 missiles around the biggest city in America. But we're doing it in the middle of the night, Ashley countered. No one's going to be on those bridges or in those tunnels at 2:30 in the morning. We specifically picked this time to minimize human pain and suffering, Murray added. So there. On the TV screens, the missiles were now screaming over the outskirts of the New York metropolitan area. The farms were now gone. Now there were only suburban homes, shopping malls, and supermarkets. In the distance, skyscrapers of Manhattan were getting closer by this every second. That doesn't mean no one's going to be on those bridges, I said, keeping my eyes locked firmly on Ashley's. What's going to happen to those people when they explode? What's going to happen to the people in the tunnels when they collapse and flood? What do you think is going to happen to everyone in Manhattan after you cut them off from the rest of the country? There'll be panics, food shortages, power outages. What you're doing here is going to lead to death and riots and agony just so you can make some money off of their misery? Ashley shook her head violently. No, you got it all wrong. I don't, I told her. And deep down inside, you know that's true. No, she said again. You're wrong. We're going to just make some money off of their misery. We're going to make an incredible amount of money off of their misery. The moment she said this, any trace of doubt or concern in her eyes now faded. And so did any trace of the sweet, good-hearted girl I thought she was. Instead, she showed her true self, and it was evil, as though all the death and destruction Spider was about to cause was thrilling to her. You think those people are going to suffer? She asked. Well, no one suffered like me. I trained my whole life for the Olympics. I gave up my entire childhood to practice 16 hours a day. I never had fun. I never had any friends. I never had a single piece of candy. And for what? So some stupid judge can make a mistake on my score and keep me from my rightful place on Team USA. Don't blame the rest of the world for your failure, Erica said coldly. That judge was right. No, she was not, Ashley roared. She was blind. I saw the Olympic trials, Erica informed her. You blew that landing. I did not. Ashley was trembling with rage now, her arms shaking, her face twitching. I half expected fire to explode from her eye sockets. I stuck that landing. I stuck it. I was terrified that, in her fury, she would blow Erica and me away. And she very well might have, if Cyrus and Alexander hadn't shut the power down at that very moment. We planned that part. The idea was Erica and I would try to deal with Spider via negotiation, while the others would try to simply stop the missiles by hitting the power supply. The entire room went black in an instant as every light, TV screen, piece of electrical equipment went out. Erica and I were prepared for this, while the others were caught by surprise. From beside me, I heard the distinct sound of Erica going on the attack, followed by the wheeze of Ashley getting punched hard, somewhere painful, and then the clatter of her guns on the floor as Erica had disarmed her. Then the backup generators whirled into action. The lights and the TVs and the electronics came back to life, and the room looked exactly the same, save for a few small changes. Instead of holding us at gunpoint, Ashley was now fighting Erica, and despite having started at a severe disadvantage, she was fighting well. Normally, Erica would have knocked out her opponent unconscious by this point, but Ashley had proven herself more formidable than expected. She was using her personal combination of gymnastics and martial arts, blocking Erica's attacks and launching her own. Nefarious and Murray were exactly where they had been before. Nefarious hadn't moved. Murray had spilled his sundae down the front of his sweatshirt. And for the first time since our arrival, he looked peeved. "Ah, great," he muttered. "Now look what you guys made me do." One other thing that had changed was that on the TV screens, the landscape was still hurtling past, but now an emergency message was flashing in red letters. Autopilot disengaged. The missiles began to drop from the sky, moving toward homes and schools rather than the bridges. "The navigation systems are blown," Nefarious said, the first words he had spoken all night. "Guess it's up to you then," Murray told him. Nefarious flicked a button on the side of his customized joystick. The emergency message disappeared, now replaced with the words "manual override activated." The missiles had straightened up and resumed their flights. Suddenly, it was evident that Nefarious had been doing on the couch all those hours. He hadn't been playing video games. He had been training to pilot multiple high-speed missiles to their targets at once. I couldn't have been easy, but he was doing it perfectly. As usual, he was giving his mumbling commentary on what he was doing. Adjust altitude, enabling missile 5 orient trajectory, 9 increase the thrust for 2. On the screens, the missiles moved steadily over New Jersey and were now closing in on Manhattan. I lunged toward Nefarious, but Murray moved faster, producing a gun from under a throw pillow and aiming at me. "Oh no," he taunted. "It's not going to be that easy, Ben." "Just shoot him," Ashley shouted, launching yet another flurry of kicks at her. "Kill Ben before he thwarts us again." "He's not going to thwart us this time," Murray said coolly. "It's out of his hands." "So what?" Ashley screamed. "Do it anyway. He's the enemy." "You actually had a crush on this girl?" Erica asked me, fending off Erica's name. "She's psychotic." "Apparently I misjudged her," I said sheepishly. "Gee, you think?" Erica asked. I tried to keep calm, but my head was now spinning. I was reeling from discovering Ashley's 2 controllers and desperately tried to figure out how I could possibly do what I could possibly do to stop the missiles. The missiles neared the Jersey shore. Sandy Hook was now coming up fast. If there had still been Nike missiles there, they would have already been launched to take out the ones en route to the city. But of course, they couldn't be launched because Spider had destroyed them. Soon there'd be nothing between Spider's missiles and their targets except open water. And the kid who was controlling them. Now that Ashley had proven to be more evil than I had realized, I turned my attention to other evil spy school student, hoping he might be more reasonable. "Nefarious, think about what you're doing. This isn't a game anymore. When those missiles strike, it will happen in the real world. And you'll make real money," Murray said. "Tons of it." "No, you won't," I warned. "Spider only told you guys that to get you to do their dirty work for them." For the first time, Nefarious took his eyes off the screens in front of him. It was for only a fraction of a second, a fleeting glance, my way. But there was concern in it. "Don't listen to him," Murray warned. "No one at Spider conned us. They wouldn't do that to me." "Then where are they?" I asked. "I haven't seen them anywhere around here tonight. Joshua told us himself that Spider was going to get away with this because all the evidence would point to some fall guys." "Well, you're the fall guys." The missiles cleared now Sandy Hook and were barreled over the harbor toward Manhattan. Erica and Ashley were still battling for the upper hand. Murray shook his head, though it seemed like he was trying to convince himself I was wrong as much as he was trying to convince Nefarious. Spider's blaming terrorists for this. No, Spider is framing you, I told him. Joshua and the top brass will make billions, and you'll end up in jail unless you abort those missiles. Murray suddenly didn't look so sure of himself anymore. Instead, it was Ashley who yelled at Nefarious, "He's lying to you! Stay on course!" The missiles were approaching the lower tip of Manhattan. 10 of them suddenly veered in different directions, each homing in on a different target. Nefarious, I pleaded, I know you have trouble fitting in, and that makes you angry, but this isn't the solution. The people at Spider are not your friends. They're using you. If you want to make real friends, you don't do it by being the bad guy. You do it by being the hero. And this is your chance. You can be the hero right now. You can save the city. The missiles were bearing down on the southernmost bridges now, so close that we could see individual cars on each span, and then the people in the cars, and then the missiles dipped under the bridges at the very last second, missing their targets. Nefarious had barely moved. He had made only a subtle flicks with his wrist, but it had been enough. For the first time since I met him, he was smiling. No! Ashley cried. You idiot! What are you doing? Bring them back around. Ben's right, Nefarious said. Spider set us up and the CIA has us surrounded. We'll never get away, but Joshua and all the other leaders will. The missiles, whether they had just avoided their targets or were still en route, suddenly angled sharply upward, rocketing high into the night sky away from the city and all the people in it. Ashley unleashed another flurry of kicks at Erica. So we'll get caught. They'll find a way to spring us. Why would they? Nefarious asked. There was a confidence in his voice that I'd never heard before. Then they'd just have to share the money with us, and they're not going to do that. After all, they're evil. The missiles were still climbing, rising through the atmosphere, leaving the city far behind. Murray's eyes went from the screens to me, back again. He seemed so stunned by Spider's betrayal that for the first time in his life, he was actually speechless. Ashley grew even more apoplectic, however. She redoubled her attack on Erica while screaming at Nefarious the entire time. You could still fix this. Even if you only hit a few of the targets, we'll still be rich. Don't let Ben confuse you. Spider isn't the enemy here. He is. He's... She didn't finish the rest because Erica punched her in the stomach. Ashley gagged in pain, bending forward, and then Erica nailed her in the jaw with an uppercut, sending her flying. Ashley slammed into the wall and crumpled into a pile. On the screens, miles above the earth, 9 of the missiles exploded. There was a huge flare of fire, and then their feeds disintegrated into static. The 10th missile did not blow. Instead, it arced around and started hurtling back for Earth. Murray looked concerned, but he still kept his gun on me. What's happening there? He asked Nefarious. What are you doing with that one? Nefarious jiggled his joystick, concerned. I'm not doing anything with it. I don't have control over it anymore. And where is it going? Murray asked. Here, I said. Everyone turned to me worried. I did the math for this too, I explained. It was for extra credit. There's a failsafe built into the rocket in case things go wrong. A homing device. Murray's eyes went wide. Why would they send a missile here if things went wrong? No loose ends, I told him. You all know too much, but the CIA can't make you talk if you're dead. You mean they're going to kill me? Murray gasped. Me? That's impossible. They promised me a house with a jacuzzi tub. They lied to you, Erica said. They are the bad guys. Murray looked as though he had been punched in the gut himself. How much time do we have? 8 minutes, I told him. Now let's get out of here. Murray dropped his gun and ran for the exit. Nefarious, Erica, and I fell in right behind him. We made only a few steps, then we noticed Ashley. She wasn't crumpled on the floor anymore. She was blocking the only exit. She recovered her guns, which she was now pointing at us. No one is going anywhere, she said. All right, you guys will get another chapter. Chapter 23, Mass Destruction. Oh, come on, Ashley, Murray cried. This is really uncool. I'm being uncool? Ashley screamed. I'm not the one who just tanked all of our plans and triggered Spider's doomsday scenario. You guys are traitors. And so you're going to die here with those doozers from the CIA. Doozers? Erica asked. Dorks plus losers, Nefarious translated. Ashley, don't you start with me, she shouted. You're the biggest traitor in them all. You made me think you were my friend. You said you'd go to Disney World with me, but you were lying the whole time, you jerk. You should talk, Erica muttered. You're evil. That's not really helping, I told her. I'm not evil, Ashley roared. All I want is what is due to me. I deserve to be rich for all I have been through. I worked my whole life only to get screwed. I deserve to make the U.S. Olympic team. I stuck that landing. She didn't finish that thought because someone whacked her on the back of the head with a tennis racket. Ashley crumpled into a heap once again, revealing her attacker behind her. Zoe Zabel. Hey, Ben, she said cheerfully, as though we had just run into each other in the school cafeteria rather than in a secret underground enemy lair that was about to blow up. Zoe? I said, stunned. What are you doing here? I'm on a field trip, she exclaimed. CIA let me come on the mission as a reward for turning you in. I came here on a helicopter with a big shot agents from Washington. It was super cool. She glanced at Ashley, sprawled out on the floor, and suddenly grew a bit self-conscious. It's okay that I knocked her out, isn't it? I mean, it looked like she was going psycho on you guys. Murray spoke before I could. You did great, Zoe. Really great. Can we just get out of here now? He tried to rush past her, but Zoe cocked the tennis racket over her shoulder like a baseball bat, and he stopped dead. One more step, and I'll be more than happy to knock you out cold, too, she snarled. I couldn't help but flash Erica a cocky grin. I told you friends could be assets. Erica rolled her eyes and then told Zoe, we have to evacuate a missiles en route to blow us up. Zoe's eyes grew even wider than usual. What? Why? It's a long story. Erica pried the gun from Ashley's hand and trained it on Marie and Nefarious. Let's go, she told him quickly. Though if either of you tries to escape, I'll shoot you somewhere very painful. You got it? Marie and Nefarious nodded obediently, then hurried out of the secret lair. Wait, Nefarious said. I saved New York. I thought the hero was supposed to make friends, not get arrested. You saved New York? Zoe asked him. That's amazing. Nefarious now broke into a huge smile. Even though he was about to go to jail and was fleeing for his life, after getting a compliment from Zoe, he looked like the happiest person on earth. I stopped on the way out of the lair and hoisted Ashley on my shoulder. You're rescuing her? Eric asked. She's the bad guy. I'm not leaving her to die, I said. She just tried to leave you, Erica pointed out. Carrying her is going to slow you down. I'll be all right, I said, hoping that was true. Erica looked concerned, then hustled after Murray and Nefarious. I followed as quickly as I could. Since Ashley was small, she wasn't very heavy, but carrying her still wasn't easy. I took a final glance at the TV screens in the control room. The remaining missile was still racing our way. Zoe stayed back to help me with Ashley, though she looked nervous about it. As we passed the kitchenette, she gasped with surprise. Whoa, they have a sundae bar in their secret lair? With toppings, I said. We don't even have a sundae hall in our mess hall, Zoe groaned. And this rec center is way nicer than ours. I know, I admitted, but on the other hand, they're evil, and we're not. How'd you find me down here? It was Jawa's idea to search this building. Jawa's here, too? I stumbled on my way up the stairs, not out of surprise, really. It was just hard to carry an unconscious human up a spiral staircase. Yeah, Spy School let me pick 3 friends to come along. So I brought Jawa because he's almost as smart as you, Chip because he's tough, and Warren because he'd have thrown a fit if I didn't pick him. Technically, we're all only supposed to observe the mission, but Chip said it'd be lame if we came all this way and just sat by the helicopter. So he ran off, and we came after him. Then Java noticed the rec center and said we ought to check it out. We split up to cover more ground. The secret door to the underground lair was open, and I heard you and Murray and then Spandex girl here going crazy. So I grabbed this tennis racket from the equipment room and came down to see what was going on. Thank goodness you did, I said. You saved us. Zoe's face lit up with pride. Yeah, I guess I did. We emerged from the lair, raced out of the rec center. Erica, Murray, and Nefarious were a good distance ahead of us, although I could still hear Murray. How could they even think of me as a loose end? I'm not a loose end. I'm a core part of the team. Maybe they got tired of hearing you whine all the time, Erica told him. I've only been with you a few minutes, and I'm ready to blow you up. Up high in the sky overhead, I could see the missile. It looked somewhat like a comet, a red streak of fire and smoke bearing down on us. Hidden Forest was eerily quiet. The battle wasn't raging anymore. Did the CIA win? I asked. Big time, Zoe told me. It was pretty much over by the time we got here. All of Spider's guys were surrendering, although most of them claimed they didn't even know what Spider was. They said they were all independent contractors. Most of them were. Where's everyone now? They evacuated, Jawa said. Running up from the baseball courts, Chip and Warren were with him. Chip had a large duffel bag slung over his shoulder that appeared to be crammed full of equipment. Despite the urgency of the situation, I couldn't help but smile upon seeing my friends. We should evacuate too, Warren informed us. Seems like something bad's about to happen to this place. Then why are you still here? Zoe asked. We were looking for you, Chip told her. Aw, Zoe gushed. You guys are sweet. It was my idea, Warren said. We have to move fast, I told him. There's less than 4 minutes left till detonation. We all fell in together and ran for the closest exit, a hole the CIA had blasted in the wall in the construction zone. Who's the dead chick? Chip asked, pointing to Ashley. She's not dead, I told him. She's unconscious. She's a junior spider agent. She's cute, Chip said. Ugh, Zoe cried. Chip, she's evil. Maybe on the inside, Chip told her, but she's cute on the outside. Is that Ashley Sparks, the gymnast? Warren asked. Yes, I replied, though now she's an evil gymnast. She was my favorite, Warren exclaimed. She really should have been on the U.S. Olympic team. That judge was blind. She stuck that landing. So I've heard, I said. We raced through the sports courts into the construction zone. Now, in addition to the usual construction detritus of bent nails and wood shavings, there was also a great deal of spent bullet casings. Jabba glanced at the duffel bag Chip was carrying. What's in there? Sporting goods, Chip replied. I got some primo rock climbing gear, a couple of footballs, and some bowling shoes. Hold on, Warren said. While we were busy looking for Ben and Zoe, you were stealing stuff? If you take stuff from the bad guys, it doesn't really count as stealing, Chip pointed out, said proudly. It's payback. Warren started to argue this point, but he was interrupted by the sudden yelp of surprise from ahead. That sounded like Erica, Jawa exclaimed. I glanced across the construction zone and caught the glimpse of Nefarious and Murray sprinting for a hole in the wall. Murray was always easy to pick out because he had a very distinctive gait. He ran like he had a permanent stomach cramp. However, Erica was nowhere to be seen. I heaved Ashley off my shoulder, shoved her into Chip's arms. Take her to the authorities, I ordered him, then told Jawa and Zoe. Catch Murray and the other guy. I'll find Erica. I ran off before anyone could protest. Jawa and Zoe took off after Murray and Nefarious. Both of them were good sprinters, and they moved very quickly. Chip wasn't far behind them, even while holding Ashley. He was so strong, carrying the gymnast was like carrying a bag of potato chips. Since I hadn't asked Warren to do anything, he simply ran for their safety as fast as he could. Above me, the fireball in the sky was only growing quickly as the missile came closer. I ran across the construction zone, trying to approximate what Erica's route had been. Erica! I yelled into my walkie-talkie. Where are you? Instead of using her own walkie-talkie to respond, Erica simply shouted through the construction zone, Never mind me, there's no time, save yourself. I scanned the dark landscape around me, but couldn't find any sign of her. Darn it, Erica, just tell me where you are. No! I pinpointed the sound. It was coming from my right. I ran in that direction and almost pitched into one of the missile silos. The hole was just darkness on the others in the other shadows, perfectly concealed it. Erica was 4 feet down, clinging to the cement rim in the silo. There was nothing but a 3-story drop below her. I had expected that she would have been thrilled to see me. Instead, she frowned. Go away, she yelled. If you try to help me, we'll both die. I'm not leaving you, I yelled back, searching the area for anything to use. You're my friend. I told you having friends in this business only causes trouble. I ignored her. There was a generator nearby. It had been shot to pieces in the battle, but the electrical cord was still attached. I tore the cord loose, wrapped one end around my waist, and tossed the other end into the hole. Grab this. No, I'll pull you in. Just grab it or we'll die. The missile was now close enough to see, silhouetted against its own flame. I sat on the ground. There was nothing to hold on to nearby except grass. I grabbed on tight and hoped for the best. It didn't work. The moment Erica put her weight on the cord, the grass tore free. I slid quickly toward the hole, desperately digging my heels into the ground. Barely managed to stop myself mere inches from the edge. The cord tightened around my waist, squeezing my abdomen so hard I thought my organs might get forced out of my nose. Thankfully, Erica was quick and agile. It took only a few seconds for her to scramble out of the hole. Instead of relief, there was embarrassment on her face. You're an idiot, she told me. And then she helped me to my feet as we ran. What happened back there, I asked. Murray got the jump on me. I started to ask about how, but she told me, save your breath, we'll talk later. It was good advice. Since I had arrived at spy school, there had been several times when I had to run for my life. But this time I had to run even faster. My legs pumped harder than ever before, fueled by fear and adrenaline. The construction site and earth-moving machines flew past us. Then we were out the gap in the wall I had made with the bulldozer and into the field behind. But as fast as we were going, it still wasn't enough to outrun the missile. It was coming in with astonishing speed, growing exponentially in size as it hurtled toward the sky. Erica's hand was suddenly holding mine, clutching it tight. Take cover, she yelled, then yanked me into an irrigation ditch. I curled into a ball, and before I could stop her, Erica curled around me protectively. The missile came down right on the rec center. I had my eyes shut tight, but I still felt almost blinded by the flash of white light that surrounded us. The noise was so loud, my whole body vibrated, and then the shock wave from the explosion pummeled me as well. The ground shook, the wave of heat rolled over us. I could sense things tearing apart and flying past. And then maybe because of the explosion, or maybe because I already almost drowned once that night and was in a delicate state, or maybe because I was just completely and totally exhausted, I passed out. I regained consciousness sometime later, but I was still disoriented and groggy. There was an incredible amount of activity going on at once. I was able to process only snatches of it all. My ears were still ringing from the blast, so I couldn't really hear anything anyone was saying. It was in the diner down the road from Hidden Forest, laying on top of a table. CIA agents were everywhere. Apparently, they had commandeered the place. I had an IV stuck in my arm and a few bandages, but otherwise my body seemed fine. All of my arms and legs were accounted for. Erica was lying next to me. She appeared to be in similar condition, although she was still unconscious. Our hands were still clasped together tightly. I thought about pulling mine from hers, but then decided against it. A bank of TV monitors had been erected near the soda fountain. They were showing the local news, and on every station there were helicopter shots of the gaping hole the missile had left in the ground. Bits of hidden forests were still there, collapsed homes, burning lawns, a few stretches of wall, the gatehouse, and somehow managed to escape unscathed. The rec center and all the missile silos were gone, though. The missile had vaporized them all, wiping any trace of Spider off of the earth. The news crawled at the bottom of one screen said gas leak destroyed gated community. CIA disinformation at work. Nearby, Cyrus and Alexander were seated in a booth with several CIA agents around them. It didn't look like they were in trouble. In fact, the agents were shaking their hands and slapping them on their backs. One man who looked a little older than Cyrus and somewhat important was laughing and shaking his head as though he was amused by everything that had happened. Mr. Wigglebottom sat in Alexander's lap. Evidently, the cat had stuck around the diner after we had left it there yesterday. Alexander wasn't paying much attention to anyone else. He was too focused on the cat, lovingly stroking its fur and making kissy faces at it. Agent Rafferty stood nearby, scowling at Cyrus. The principal was with him, looking confused. He had gotten himself a new toupee to replace the one that had been burned when his office blew up. Amazingly, this one was actually worse. It looked as though a hamster had died on his head. Out the window, the CIA paddy wagon was parked in front of the diner. Ashley Sparks was being loaded inside, her hands cuffed behind her back. She had regained consciousness and was screaming at everyone. I thought I could make out the words, "I stuck the landing." Zoe, Chip, Jow, and Warren sat in a corner booth away from the action. To my surprise, Nefarious was with them. He was cuffed as well, but he looked far happier than Ashley. He wasn't an outcast anymore. He was the center of attention. He was talking animatedly, spilling his guts about Spider. Perhaps my friends were hanging on his every word, fascinated. There was no sign of Murray Hill. He had apparently escaped, and Joshua Ellis certainly wasn't there. He had probably been in another country when the missiles were fired, along with the rest of the higher-ups at Spider. I was too tired to feel frustrated about this. Instead, I felt proud of myself. Maybe the bad guys had escaped to fight another day, but for the time being, I helped thwart their plans once again. My first undercover mission had been a success. Suddenly, Erica's hand tensed in mine. I looked over at her. She was awake now, or at least kind of awake. Her eyelids still drooped, and she seemed a bit zoned out. "Hey," she said. She sounded oddly far away, even though she was only a few inches from me. It was probably due to my ears still recovering from the blast. "Hey," I replied. "How are you feeling?" "Excellent. But that's probably because they've given us pain meds." It occurred to me that this was probably why I felt so calm myself. "Thanks for saving me," Erica said. It was the type of comment that she never would have made unless she was doped up on medication. "I owe you one." "How about this?" I suggested. "Next time you decide to bring me on a mission, you tell me about it first." "It's a deal." Erica's eyes began to slide shut again. "In fact, next mission, I'll ask them to make us equal partners." "Really?" I asked. "You do that for me?" "Of course. That's what friends are for." Erica gave me a dreamy smile and then dozed off again. I'd wondered if she'd ever remember saying that, but for the time being, I was too tired to care. Even with the chaos around me, I closed my eyes and drifted back to sleep as well, Erica's hand still firmly clutched in mine. All right, we have our CIA redacted letter that we started the story with, and they always end with one of these. Dated September 20th. To CIA director, we don't know because I blocked out the name. Operation Bedbug mission recap. While Operation Bedbug achieved its main objective, the discovery and the subsequent thwarting of Spider's plans, I hesitate to call it a success. The identities of two members of said organization remain a mystery, while Redacted and Redacted managed to escape. The people we did capture were mere pawns of the organization, though Nefarious Jones has been eager to share what he knows. Given his aid in deflecting the missiles, he might have some value as Redacted. I'm guessing meaning that he's an asset. Sadly, Mr. Jones is unaware of what Spider's future plans might be, and any further evidence concerning those was destroyed and redacted. Thus, it will require Redacted to determine what they are plotting next, although we could assume that the organization suffered a severe financial loss from the failure of this endeavor. Although Agent-to-be Ripley, Redacted, he certainly proved his mettle on this mission, and I'm not saying that simply because he saved my granddaughter's life. Given their key contributions to Operation Bedbug and Redacted, I suggest that both Erica and Benjamin should be reinstated as the students at the Academy of Espionage and be given top grades and undercover work as well. In addition, I would highly recommend the services of Benjamin Ripley for future missions and suspect he would be very good selection for Operation Redacted. One last item. I am somewhat concerned about this Mike Brzezinski character. How much does he know? Let's discuss the options. Sincerely, Redacted. Well, I don't know about you guys. I suspect that Cyrus Hale wrote that letter to the director of the CIA, given that he mentioned that Benjamin saved his granddaughter. I worry about Ben's friend Mike. Sounds like Mike is going to be in for some trouble if he continues kind of talking to Ben and continuing to make hints that Ben is a spy in training. So that's the end of Evil Spy School. So thank you guys for joining us on today's chat, today's read aloud. Like I said, if you guys can share with me your email addresses, if you guys can write me an email at Jonathan, that's spelled Jonathan .Gibbons is spelled Gibbons at lisd.us. If you guys could write me an email to let me know that I am so-and-so's parent, then I can then send you a copy of our survey that Mrs. Van Black wants me to share out with you guys to find out what technology you have available in your house, what kind of devices you have, how good your internet is, and if you have any concerns about being able to assist your student with if we have to go to virtual learning, and then stating, how the school can help you. As soon as, you guys get me your email addresses, unless Dojo finally, turns on their messaging back on, I need your guys' email so I can share that survey out to you guys. And as soon as you guys can get that back to me, I can get it to Mrs. Van Black as soon as possible. And then we can figure out how we can help assist and support you families for, the continuing of education for your students. It sounds like Governor Whitmer is going to come down with an announcement in the next few days about whether schools are going to remain open or they're going to be closing indefinitely for the remainder of the school year. We're not sure yet. She hasn't made that announcement, but should be coming on soon. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much again for joining this stream, and I will see you on the next one. This is Mr. G signing off. See you later. Stay safe. Stay healthy.